Then hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining today's session. Hopefully everything works with the recording right now. And also everyone has a clear picture of us. So, I'd like to welcome you together with Thorsten to our today's first of 3 sessions regarding the SAP Migration Factory, covering Integration Suite overall, how to move from PIPO to Integration Suite, but also the whole big picture of why Integration Suite can help you with modernization and integration within your business. So today's topic, we will cover the Integration Suite itself with hopefully very interesting insights for you as well regarding all the different topics that Integration Suite covers. And in that sense, I would maybe directly ask you, Thorsten, to also introduce yourself, maybe real quick.
Yeah, thank you, Marvin. Thank you for joining this webinar. I'm part of the Global Partner Organization, responsible for the integration solution area on BTP and working with IB Solution in the context of the integration modernization, where we have 3 aspects: integration from PIPO, integration from Neo to Cloud Foundry, but also consolidation of platforms. Back to you.
Right. Thank you very much. So, from our side, we are at IB Solution, or myself, responsible for the Integration Suite, all topics related to it, migration, and also Neo to Cloud Foundry. And therefore, maybe let's start directly with the slides so that we can shift over and start to show what we have brought with us today for you. And before doing that, I would like to introduce the whole topic with a quote from Christian Klein that Thorsten brought with him. Regarding integration delivers true business value to our customers, accelerating the speed of innovation, lowering the risk of integration, and reducing complexity of operations. And how to do so and why it is the case, we will cover today. And that's exactly the agenda that we have brought for you today. That we first of all cover the overall big picture of why there is an increasing need for integration. I think every one of you is aware of it. However, just to show you the different aspects, what drives this increased need, then also why now modernizing integration landscapes is important. So not only from the perspective of moving away from PIPO, but also in general, why Integration Suite in that sense is the perfect match for you. And then, of course, related to that, the advantages of using it, what you can expect from the overall solution, and then shifting towards the topic of moving from PIPO. So also showing you not only why the solution itself, but also maybe older integration solutions might limit you in capabilities for future integration projects. And then also trying to, let's say, discussing a few statements regarding fears and concerns while moving towards SAP Integration Suite. And at the last, we'll provide a big picture of what you can expect when starting a project for migrating from another solution or PIPO to Integration Suite, what you have in terms of topics, and of course then a first glimpse of what we will handle in the next session on Thursday this week, to then start over the big picture and sum up this session for today. Right, then coming to the first topic regarding the increased need for integration today. I think every one of you is aware of the topics or terms that are listed on the left side, like hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, private cloud, public cloud, and so on and so forth. And I also think every one of you is aware that we all are kind of coming from an on-premise world now into a cloud world and application. So that's why when the term towards cloud started, many of you already had maybe also other hyperscalers like Google, AWS, or Microsoft in place, and therefore starting to connect the on-premise world with the cloud world, in most cases maybe in the sense of a not only platform as a service, but also maybe first adoptions of applications or services within the cloud. So moving towards more on-demand features. And that's why we have this term, the different terms now running around, let's say, that when it comes to integration or working on in cloud environments, that we talk about multi-cloud. So we have on-prem instances and also cloud systems that need to work together. And when you have also multiple clouds available, whether it be for using services or data integration itself, for data warehousing, data lake housing, then we are talking about multi-cloud applications. And in that sense, I guess it's obvious this state won't change. It's the other way around. There will be more services available, different services, kinds of services, business models evolving within that landscape. And you, as a customer or user for your business, somehow needs to cope with that situation and stay flexible to further be able to innovate, but also, of course, keep up your core business processes and overall activities. And thus, that's exactly the point regarding where integration comes into play. However, just to show you a very good example, because that's also maybe a slide that some of you might already know, is now if you think of the situation, you have your different processes, lead to cash, source to pay, recruit to retire. This is an actual overview of what systems you could, or application services you could use in order to make that process work, because depending on your different business departments, some have different requirements, thus some services don't fit to those requirements. Therefore, other applications and services have to be booked and used from different vendors or hyperscalers. And therefore, you might end up even using all of them that you see here, depending on your size, of course, but even not limited to that. And therefore, now the problem you have is, how do I now enable not only my business, my processes, but also from a technological perspective, making that work, that everything, so all of those services work together in that sense. So therefore, sharing information and integrating this information in between, so that you don't have to use 6 or 7 different services in order to accomplish one specific process or goal. And thus coming to the part with, you want to provide a seamless user experience to your business users, partners, customers, and anyone involved within that. Because I think every one of you knows also the times, and still might face such processes where you have to shift around Excel files just to have this information available in another system, so that other people can work with that or support you with your activities. And so therefore, you kind of have your core systems that you now want to extend with certain capabilities. And therefore, in this case, for example, you have your lead to cash process in that sense, that you now, for example, also uses SAP Sales Cloud and HubSpot. And in order to make those work, of course, you have different options to integrate them. One is that you have native capabilities, for example, within or in between S4HANA and SAP Sales Cloud, that, for example, the business partner information is being shared or replicated towards Sales Cloud as soon as something happens within that system, or also maybe even towards HubSpot. However, in many cases, you don't have this native integration capability. So then exactly things or thoughts start about, well, is there a service that offers me this integration between, so I can directly just book it, integrate those systems, and make them work together, or even coming up with custom solutions, custom interfaces in order to enable integration in between those. And of course, this is just one example. You have to replicate it towards different departments, different processes, and can end up having like 100 different systems having to work with each other, or not only systems, but of course applications, some applications just for integration so that two systems can communicate with each other, and so on and so forth. And that raises the question, of course, how to keep track and manage such an integration landscape. Because I was not only talking about the technical perspective, but you have, in the end, the integration throughout all different layers in terms of end-to-end process and the applications that need to work together. And then coming to the technical parts, because I have not yet even talked about connectivity issues. So how to open up maybe certain firewall rules or other technical details in order to make even the communication between both applications, services, systems work. And so on those three layers, you start building up a huge pile of different systems, different issues, especially to, at a certain point when you lose the overview, what happens quite fast in that context, have the problem then of maybe doing duplicate work. There might be an interface already existing and you start up with a custom integration, not talking to each other. We all know those things happen, and not on purpose, but of course on missing connecting applications or links. And this is exactly where the integration suite comes into place. You have one central hub or suite in that sense. That's why it's also called not only a product application or anything else. It is a suite because it provides you all the necessary services, capabilities for you to manage, develop, extend, and even monitor your solution. But we'll come to those details later on. And most important, and I think every one of you knows this figure, is that integration is, in the end, via the integration suite, the central point for keeping your core clean. So the clean core strategy of SAP, together with the different BTP, so business technology platform, services and applications, to have the whole environment, SAP ecosystem, and now also the most important part, also non-SAP ecosystem landscapes that you have and use brought together within that solution and the capability to do so. And so therefore, using the integration suite to summarize what we've just been talking about is you have a modern integration suite that allows you covering all your integration needs at one single place. You have the opportunity also to retire your technical debt. So in that sense, starting to clean up exactly those situations and maybe problems you currently have to shift towards this solution. And the next thing is most important, you don't have to start from scratch. Many things that you already did can be reused, should be reused, must be reused, of course, because you already invested quite a lot of time and effort into it, meaning you also have to save your investments, and thus there are many different opportunities to shift that also into the integration suite. And most important, when thinking of modernization, it's not just that you kind of lift and shift. This is also what Thorsten will be talking about later on. Your solution towards the integration suite, but you really have the chance to completely transform and redesign your integration strategy, architecture, and thus also integration lifecycle design as well. And to do so, you have a huge pre-built content assets that are already there and free of charge for you to use when using Integration Suite. And last but not least, the Integration Suite is of course, as it is a cloud application, frequently updated regarding all different topics, security, features that continuously are being delivered to you once you've subscribed, and then of course the whole flexibility due to the different capabilities of Integration Suite that you'll learn later. But first of all, to show you the extent of the pre-built content that is available, namely the Business Accelerator Hub, maybe some of you know or not, Thorsten will talk about.
Yeah, thank you, Marvin. So this is the point that I'd like to chip in here. The way how we are increasing the overall value and decreasing the time to value for customers that are implementing Integration Suite. So with the Accelerator Hub, there is access to a huge array of pre-built integrations, APIs that are available, and even business events, but also content that has been contributed by partners that can be leveraged in the implementation. And I think that's really a big thing, increasing the overall value, decreasing the time to value, accelerate the project, make it fast and sustainable. And this is why we're also seen as leaders, both from Gartner and from IDC. There's a solid position here that we kept for years now. Deciding for Integration Suite means deciding for a very mature product that is delivering solid value to customers. You see here a couple of the numbers, the 14,600 customers that are using Integration Suite, but also the 1.8 million integration flows that have been deployed over time. I think it's we're there to stay. It's a very mature, solid product, and that makes it beneficial to move from the legacy products towards Integration Suite now. And many of the customers obviously already have done that. So here I have a list of customer proof points, easily to look up on the SAP website in case you want to read into more details. What I'd like to highlight here is maybe, for example, the Chimera story, who has migrated a significant amount of interfaces from PO to Integration Suite. And also on the other side, you see a couple of customers that really have significant savings, significant increases in efficiency. And I think that is the important aspect that customers can look into working with us and working with the partners to derive that value when doing the move. Thank you. Back to Marvin.
Thank you very much. And so just also to highlight the point that Thorsten also said, going for the Integration Suite, you are also future-proof regarding SAP strategy, because as mentioned, it is the central point of integration in that sense for the overall BTP services, but also non-SAP appliances, because we've already seen that the Integration Suite is even not only used for SAP to non-SAP or the other way around integrations, but also from non-SAP to non-SAP landscapes. So meaning you are not only limited to having to use always or integrate SAP products, but also have the flexibility to do this for all different kinds of applications that you would like to connect and integrate within your workflows. And so, therefore, why is moving to the SAP Integration Suite a good choice? As mentioned, you're cloud ready. So if you think of now at the example of SAP PIPO, which is coming from a time where you had more of batch integrations or explicit push or pull operations in order to integrate the data that you need at that point, rather than now this more event-driven and real-time integration capability, where you subscribe towards an event emitter or even have an event hub in that sense, which is in our case for Integration Suite, the advanced event mesh, to react upon different events that happen in the different systems in order to directly have this data at your fingertips when you really need it. Coming back, or not going back to this time where you had to wait, let's say, for the evening or even the next day to have this data available. But just by saving, for example, in one application, you have this data directly available in all other related services. Then, as well, you have a reduced total cost of ownership, which is very important to mention, because you don't have to, and that's the next most important part, take care about hosting your solution or even maintaining it regarding patches, security, having your IT run also for scalability purposes when you want to extend certain features or want to extend the use of this solution. You always have to then invest into new hardware that needs to maintain, is additional cost, needs eventually more space, different cooling concepts, and so on and so forth. So all those questions, problems, and topics you don't have, because it's a cloud-based service where you can scale based on the current need you have and not having to plan in advance for your size and scale within your hosting center. The next thing is talking about event-driven architectures and also the event-driven integration. You have complete API management capabilities, meaning your integration endpoints that you created, or also your endpoints that you have within your current systems, you can manage and put security topics in terms of registration, or also, of course, login before with and integrated within your single sign-on as well, depending on what you need, but you have the flexibility to use whatever you need, actually. And therefore, providing also these endpoints to other services, to your maybe customers, to partners, so that they can start developing with it, you have still one central point to manage all of that without having to think, or having a whole team that needs to take care of that. You have this in the solution included, and then the team using this solution to distribute the different endpoints. Then we've just heard about the reusable content and integration flows. So it's not anymore that you even work with point-to-point integrations between your systems, but maybe you have something, in our case, called pipeline concept, that allows you to have standardized pipelines that work for multiple different services and can thus integrate into different systems, meaning you don't have to do twice or multiple times the same work. You still just have to reuse your standardized integration flow. Then also something that you should be aware of is that you have improved connectivity in terms of, if you would like to have the same and cloud service integrated into your on-prem or older systems, in most cases you don't have ready-to-use adapters available that take care of logging in, security issues or topics in terms of authenticating you with the correct rights and authorizations you need within your application. All of that is covered by those adapters. So you basically just need the login information that you would like to use, whether it be a technical user or principal propagation. All of that is available, and you don't have to cope with then questions regarding your firewall that you need maybe to open up if you how to connect via proxy, for example. So that already goes into the technical parts and details, which I will not further go into. But just to give you an impression, you have those around 170 up to 200 adapters available that you can directly connect to, which we've also seen already on the slide of Thorsten. And then, of course, things like latest standards are being continuously updated. The adapters are being updated when certain changes happen. So this is all effort and time that you don't have to spend and take care of, because the suite in that sense takes care of it, because SAP has the responsibility for it, shifting it away from you. Yeah? So that makes things also way more convenient for you, as well as easier. And coming to easier, of course, you have a simplified development, as we have low-code, no-code UIs where you can drag and drop together your integrations. Of course, with scripting capability that you can use Groovy Script for additional logic that you might need in certain cases. Yeah, so this is then making a streamlined development lifecycle as well, that also reduces your effort and cost, because once you set the guidelines, things start working towards predefined lifecycle paths and development paths. To get further information regarding the differences between Integration Suite and PIPO, we have an executive summary for you that you can download via this link, where those technical details I was talking about are a little bit more covered, and also further details are summarized in 3 pages. So feel free. It's for free for you, and therefore have a look at it if you want to deep dive into that topic, maybe because you're currently facing the same questions and issues. Right. And then coming to fears and concerns towards migrating to the Integration Suite, or yeah, better said, statements that we often hear from customers are listed on this slide here. And I think if you read through them, a few of them should already kind of be covered, I would say. Of course, there are details that one must evaluate if it is then still possible, but in most or all cases, I can certainly say to 90%, 95 even, there won't be any issues regarding that. So coming to the expensive ownership and migration, maybe Thorsten, you can talk about why this is maybe not the case, or it is not the case actually.
Yeah, actually, I mean, that's today well known in the market that there's very competitive pricing for Integration Suite. And as we had changed some of the commercial models, I think that makes it very attractive for customers to move now and also shift all the operations away from the data center. And yeah, we have a couple of customer examples that speak for themselves when it comes to total cost of ownership. And the partners are guiding you here. So there's, besides the technical assessment of the move, also the opportunity to do a commercial assessment and derive the return on investment when moving into the cloud from PI and PO.
Yeah. Then maybe also let's pick one of the statements that you hear most often, and maybe then state
maybe
1 or 2 sentences.
One very common is never touch a running system, and I fully understand that customers are happy with PI/PO. I mean, that's SAP products, well built. Customers happy to use them because they do what they are expected to do. But then, everything has its time, and now it's time to move on from PO. And obviously, Integration Suite also had some, let's say, ramp-up time. You're not a first mover going to Integration Suite. The product has been around for some time. It really opens up a new world, giving you a lot of opportunity to tackle all the questions from the board that are coming up. I think when it is around agility, cost efficiency, but also looking at the whole AI demands. That's when you want to be ready. And I think Integration Suite really is the path to go here.
Perfect. And then maybe you can talk also regarding the importance of partners. We are one partner,
Yes,
so
of
I will
course.
keep myself back. Everything else would be, well, you can guess.
So a couple of points here. So as I said, customers that are still running on PO obviously are not first movers. So there has been some time that we spend with other customers helping them in their migration journeys. And first of all, I wouldn't like you to see it as a pure technical migration. This is an opportunity for modernization. And SAP has used the time to build some tools and assets around this to support you here. So we do have the assessment tooling that does an assessment of the existing PO and helps you understand what does it mean to move it technically. We also have the migration tooling, but then we do have those end-to-end service offerings from our partners like IB Solution that are taking you through the journey end-to-end. And so here you would see the capabilities of the migration assessment tool that looks a bit boring, but it really gives you an indication of what is difficult, what is easy. And you can do an initial scoping of the project. This is what a sample result looks like. And what it helps you to identify is what is the state-of-the-art solutioning that we should target. There's clear guidance on how to achieve that. And you will see also the benefits of those modernizations. I think that's where SAP and the partners have been working very closely together. There's a lot of bidirectional learning where we are listening to the partners and customers, but also supporting the partners into how to best execute with the tools that we have provided to make the move as smooth as possible. And that will result in very comprehensive advantages for the customers, working with partners that have invested into building a practice that not only has the relevant certifications, but also the expertise to support a customer tackling that modernization of their landscape. So partners would have the latest insight and updates from SAP. They have the comparison between different customers they've worked with so far. They would be pretty clear on the reference architecture and best practice. But very important for me is that we trust our partners, customers trust our partners, and that's how we come to that brand value of the partners. And I think that's very important to have that community that is so closely working together, supporting customers going through those sometimes very, very challenging journeys. And with that, back to Marvin.
Thank you very much, Thorsten. As mentioned, talking about the importance of partners, from my point of view, would be wrong to me having presenting that, because Thorsten has a completely different view, topic, and overview of that. So therefore, thank you very much. And yeah, we were talking about the now PI/PO migration topics and tasks for you as an overview, because Thorsten also said and told you that we have kind of the big picture of the different journeys, issues, problems that different customers have. In many cases, those are the same. So for those, especially, we have predefined solutions, of course. However, in all cases, we also have individual topics which you cannot standardize in any sense. This is the case for all customers. However, regarding our approach, how to identify those different issues, maybe also identifying the proper solutions for it, and then starting to not only just bring in our solutions and then leave you with it, but also providing you the guidance so that you can build up your own, let's say, competence or expert center, which more and more makes us, of course, less necessary as a partner, because you start becoming capable of doing those things by yourself, which is our ultimate goal, is exactly what we can help with. Because once we've brought our or identified potential issues or problems that you could solve, and providing you also a proper solution for that, is not the end of the journey, because this is just from our side, let's say, even the start of the journey, because we then start to provide or establish guidelines that you then have to, of course, adopt and bring up with, let's say, even policies or development trainings for your developers, but also sometimes even business users to a certain extent, that they can start making use of that as well. And there are different, let's say, requirements from different customers. Some say it has to stay within the IT department. Some others say there should be certain capabilities that should be also shifted towards the business units. All of that is individual, and this is exactly where we try to find a proper strategy for you, so that in the end, every path that you then in the end move towards to leads to your self-responsibility and you being capable of doing your own further new integration developments, and being capable of incorporating innovations. Best example, I mean, we're currently now talking about AI agents in many cases, and Integration Suite, for example, has already some pre-built-in AI features for you helping to develop, making it easier for developers and thus also faster. However, when thinking of also integrating other capabilities, you now have also the chance to incorporate that within or in between your system integrations for certain tasks, for certain maybe decisions that should be used, categorizations. So all of that is something that we want to enable you to do and have the, let's say, broad overview of what you can actually do, so that you can come up with your own solutions and ideas. And specifically for migrating towards Integration Suite from PI/PO, but also from, as mentioned, different services, or even just starting with the Integration Suite, we have an integration solution advisory method based approach for doing so, which you were able to read throughout the whole time, starting with the 4 different phases, which is the integration strategy assessment, then moving over to designing an integration, or overall designing the hybrid integration platform for you, meaning regarding strategy and architecture, and then starting to implement, building up best practices, developments, so that in the end, as mentioned, we empower you to have smooth operations within your company, but also smooth new integration projects to accomplish new integration tasks. And so therefore, the first phase is always about doing a lot of analysis regarding your landscape. What systems do you have in place? What different protocols are you currently using? Are there any equivalents that you can just switch on and off, so to say, by just incorporating the already pre-built content of Integration Suite, or are there specific new developments necessary? So thus also going through the whole migration assessment, if you have PIPO already in place, to then get also exactly this overview, but in a very condensed, or yeah, how's it called?
Comprehensive.
Sorry?
Comprehensive.
Comprehensive, thank you. Yeah, comprehensive overview. Thank you. I was missing the word. And then also starting to make certain architecture decisions, and also the design to have a certain frame in which we or you can still flexibly walk in, but not getting or having to fear certain branches that just break this frame, and you start having, again, solution islands with no compliance at all to your overall integration strategy. Then, from then on, we always start with the strategy part. So because we now have the big overview of what you have and where you would like to go to become more precise and starting doing the mapping, so technology mapping, which fits to what is already there, what you can use, so reducing your overall effort and integration development, and then also establishing certain strategies and guidelines to have the security that future developments will not break with the overall compliance of specific strategies. And then starting implementing it with the integration development, also having a clean and clear error handling, monitoring, so that you have everything in place to see when certain things break or don't work anymore due to certain changes within another system because of different developments happening there, which is always, let's say, a common issue. And then also quality testing for new developments, so that maybe even when you have implementation partners, that you can make sure that they always comply with what you've set up within your strategy. And then moving up, even up to guidelines, so that in the end you have complete, let's say, training materials and documentations available, so that you can train your own workforce, IT, and all involved business departments, how those changes can be introduced within the integration suite. Right, but this is only just a first glimpse of what we will talk about in detail in our second session, which I would like you to, or I would like to hint you towards it. You can find the registration link in the within the slides, but also on the QR code, or I think we also send it into the chat. And there, as mentioned, we will then have a deep dive into the SAP Integration Suite and the different components that interplay with each other, so that you get a close look of what capabilities you have. And then moving towards the best practices for even development. So first, let's say, guidance from our side that we provide as information to you for when you would like to start with it, what certain topics you have to be aware of, and then how we overall come up or do our migration approach with you. Right. Then, Thorsten, do you have something to add from your side? Any further
Nothing
points?
specific besides encouraging everybody to join the next session, and therefore everybody to reach out in case that you have any questions that wouldn't be answered within this session. Do you have time for one question?
Yes, of course.
Because I have seen there is one in the chat from Prabhu Kalimutu. As they currently have 3 integration suite environments, and what the best advice is, the best approach to move to integration suite if 3 tenants would be required.
Yeah, that of course can be replicated to the same amount of tenants within the integration suite, or different integration suite tenants in that sense, so that you then have your development, QA, and productive system in place. And then you can also use the BTP transport management, or the transport management service on the BTP, to then directly be capable of transporting your developments from or throughout the different instances. Yeah, so therefore, you can directly have the same strategy also within the integration suite on the BTP. But as mentioned, you just then have 3 different instances where different people have different authorizations and rights to accept or allow certain transports and do certain changes, because in most cases, of course, you shouldn't change things that are being tested on QA within the QA system, because you then would break the link between the development and your QA. And in the end, shifting that then over to the productive system would then either require you to copy back from productive to the development system. Of course, we have customers that do this way, because they say we have to do certain adjustments in QA in order to make it transport ready for productive. However, we always recommend to try to avoid this as much as possible, because you have a lot of different options to make sure that you don't have to do these adjustments in the QA due to certain parameterization and externalizing parameters. Yeah.